Buenas tardes.
Good afternoon.
Gracias por acompañarnos.
Thank you for joining us. My name is Pablo Salomon. From July this year, I'm the president of the Uruguayan Chamber of ITs. And in the next half an hour, I would like to introduce you to an overview of what the information industry in Uruguay is and the challenges and opportunities ahead of us. First of all, I would like to thank Artec for inviting us to participate in this event, which is undoubtedly the event with the largest attendance in our country. And I will be presenting what the industry is like right now, what the Uruguayan Chamber of IT is, what it does. And then I'll talk about the growth opportunities that we have in our country and challenges in different areas: human capital, funding sources, entrepreneurs, fiscal framework, etc. In Uruguay, there are more than 400 companies that sell software, ITs, and associated services. And they generate more than 14,000 direct jobs. This does not include computing centers within traditional companies that also employ a lot of people. And according to the figures in the latest survey that we carried out in 2010, we have more than $650 million in information technology, and more than one-third of that is export-oriented. In Uruguay, for many years already, it is the highest per capita exporter in Latin America. We were even the highest exporter in absolute terms some years ago, but there's no doubt that we have a very strong software and IT industry in terms of its exporting focus. Very recently, Mr. Mordesky did a job where he analyzed one by one more than 300 companies, and he tried to classify them. This is just to show you the diversity of our industry. We still are quite focused in service-oriented companies. We have more than 100 of them as a primary activity, but we also have companies that build solutions or products for specific platforms or vertical platforms, or for more horizontal platforms, such as the case of Artec. And we also have quite a diverse industry where we see more collaboration than competitiveness, than competition, in terms of the number of solutions and proposals that our industry offers. Kuti, what is it? It's a non-profit organization, the mission of which is to promote the sustainable development of our sector. It was founded in 1989. It used to be called Uruguayan Chamber of Software originally, but now we are called Kuti. It has more than 330 partner companies, and this is something that we need to point out specifically, because within IT chambers in the region, we are by far the most representative one. More than 90% of software exports in Uruguay come from firms that are partners of Kuti. So we're always trying to encompass this and to provide a framework for all these companies, whether they are working in terms of services, products, corporate products, etc. And we're really very representative. I wanted to tell you about some concepts in terms of how I see Kuti in its role. On one hand, it's a platform. What do I mean by this? It is the platform through which the sector companies can channel initiatives for the benefit of the development of our industry. And these initiatives come from companies such as the ones you have. We don't have a policy as to the road we need to go through, but our partners, through the participation of their executives in the different working commissions, they are the ones that bring the ideas and initiatives in areas to work, challenges we need to address, concrete concrete proposals, etc. So since that is very important in terms of the contribution that each of your companies make, and we are also encouraging other companies to come to us and to bring ideas and collaborate. Also, Kuti has a role that is as important as articulating and as executing initiatives in the country. Of course, we have limited resources, but we won't be able to resolve all the challenges so that our industry grows. So it is important to do things directly and also to identify a problem and then to take that problem to the actor within the ecosystem, whether government, universities, or other institutions. That is to say, to take that to the actor that will be capable of solving that problem. So we not only have direct activities for partners, but we also articulate the needs of the industry and other actors of the ecosystem. Let's now talk about growth opportunities. Our industry has been growing for many years already, and there are opportunities for growth in many areas. On one hand, we have the domestic market that keeps on growing in terms of IT demands, but where there's a highest expansion potential is in the international market. Why? Because the worldwide demand of ICTs is so much larger than our own development capacity that the market is almost unlimited. So it's up to us to capture those opportunities. On the other hand, and one of the challenges that we will talk about is the issue of human capital. This is a constraint in terms of growth. So how can we significantly grow? There are opportunities on the side of services where we can generate added value through specialization or with higher productivity by using tools such as GenNexus, but we also need to invest more in product development so that we can upscale our companies to a higher dimension without having to scale human resources up in the same proportion. And that's one of the advantages that we've had. There has been a recent shift in terms of investing more and more in products, but we need to continue to grow along that way. As I mentioned, we are around $250 million in exports, and our goal is that by 2020 we want to have more than $1 billion, which is a growth that will be around 20%. That's an ambitious goal, yet it is an attainable goal. If we can attain this goal, we would be around 1/3 of the per capita exports that Israel now has. So we can continue to grow much more, even beyond those numbers. Let's now talk about the challenges. As I mentioned before, human resources, as you know, is one of the main barriers for our growth. Why? Because we have negative unemployment. What do I mean by this? One, in the past years, any student in the first years as a freshman can obtain a job if he wants to work. And that was one of the main changes in the last decade. Most students, before they graduate, they already have a job. That was one of the changes. And if you want to hire someone that's experienced in your company, in most cases you will be taking that person from another company in the industry, so there will be a vacancy somewhere else. So that's one of the greatest challenges in terms of human resources. One of the main one of the main things that will have a long-term impact is the so-called Ceibal plan. This means that all children, all school children will have a computer, but also there will be robotic workshops that will be taught in most schools. So this will make ITs as an opportunities for growth, for careers, and for taking this as a focus of life. So we will see an impact 10 years from now in terms of that generation that was submitted to the Ceibal plan as to how they will enter the working market in terms of human resources. Of course, we continue to face challenges. One of them is to increase the educational supply. We need to have more technical studies, 2 or 3 years studies. UTU has already programs in our country, but more than half of the people who want to register in technical universities don't have a place where to study. We have worked in a bill for the so-called institute that was called ITS, but this is not this has not materialized yet. In terms of the educational programs that we have created online courses, short courses maybe meant for people who live in the countryside and don't have opportunities for studying in those type of courses. So we already have hundreds of people who are trained in testing or Java programming or Genexus programming through those online courses. The other thing we need to address on the short and medium term is the fact that secondary students need to see IT careers as an attractive opportunity. There are still many myths in this sense because people tend to think that we are all nerdy students or that mathematics are very difficult. And in Kuti, we have offered a series of conferences throughout the country in order to get this more down to earth in terms of the opportunities of the different roles within a sector. We usually bring an entrepreneur from a certain sector so that he can explain about his experience and the opportunities in his company. And we will continue to foster these opportunities because this is one of our major concerns in the sector, and we need to address this from different fronts. Let's now go to another source of concern, which is funding sources. If we are thinking about an industry that will have the opportunity for developing products, they usually require risk capital in order to develop and grow. In this sense, the present scenario is that there has been a lot of development in the past 10 years. The present alternatives are much better than the one we had before. The so-called ANI has worked a lot in supporting companies from our sector. There's a specific program. And another issue that I want to point out is the number of acquisitions and recent investment that our industry is receiving. This year, we have had 4 or 5 acquisitions or major investments in our industry. And this really is something that's very important for any investment in the future, because this is a proof that in Uruguay you can obtain return for your investments, and you can have an acquisition as something that could be successful and a possible exit for many investors. We still have challenges. We need to develop the so-called angel community of angel investors. By the end of this month in Colonia, we will be organizing a meeting between industry entrepreneurs and investors in order to try to get them together and to foster that investors who are willing to invest do so. We're also trying to bring investors from other countries. So if you're interested in participating either as an entrepreneur or investor, I invite you to contact Kuti, because this is an activity that we're organizing right now. It would also be good to have more investment alternatives in Uruguay. In Uruguay, we had Prosperitas Capital Partners for many years, but nowadays they are not working as investors. investors on an active way, so it would be good to have investors settle in Uruguay. So this is part of this whole ecosystem, so that funding sources access is relatively easy for the companies that wish to access to it, and so that they don't need to go abroad to find it, because sometimes it might not be attractive for foreign investors to invest in places that are remote from the place where they are based. Beyond this, what in terms of developing entrepreneurs, today we have a support ecosystem for entrepreneurs, which was consolidated from the Emprender network that supported a number of entrepreneur actors that support early stage companies that provide services, training. From Kuti, we have identified that lacking in that ecosystem was the use of mentors, so we implemented a program called Run It, which through our partners is supporting and mentoring more than 15 entrepreneurs on early stage processes in order to help them in their development. And we still have the challenge of generating a higher volume and of good quality entrepreneurs. We still have very few undertakings, new undertakings of good quality each year. Nowadays, if you want to go to a certain program on ANI, you're not competing with a limited quota. We would be willing to support more people if there would be more qualified entrepreneurs. So this is another area we're interested in, that is to say how to encourage this. And very recently we created an activity called Startup Weekend. We are organizing presentations in universities so that entrepreneurs talk about their experiences, and this is one of the challenges we need to continue to address. In terms of the regulatory and fiscal framework, our government has acknowledged from 1999 the software industry was declared a key industry in the country, and nowadays we have a good promotional framework in terms of tax exemptions and software exports and associated services. However, what has happened is that other countries in the region and the world have also recognized that their IT industries are also key. And even though we were pioneers in this, almost everyone in the region has comparable status, and Brazil has announced that it will be investing $500 million in order to support its industry. So even though we have a good framework, we're not as competitive as we used to be a couple of years ago. So we need to continue working and improving other aspects such as work flexibility. Nowadays, the labor legislation does not meet all the needs that we have in terms of flexibility of working hours, etc., and we need to improve this. In Kuti, we have a very good relationship with the government, and we will continue to talk with them because we are fully aligned in fostering the growth of the sector, of increasing exports, which is also one of the goals that the government has. And to conclude, in terms of the international expansion of our companies, this is an area where we have grown stronger each year. As our main achievements, one is several companies that have gone abroad very successfully. Genexus is one of them, which have opened doors in several ways. One, by positioning Uruguay and by showing that Uruguay has good professionals in the software industry. Also, many of these companies have generated an ecosystem of companies around them that have joined join these companies in order to obtain businesses in other countries. So this is one of the pillars that's helping us to make our companies more international. We also have Uruguay 21, which is a company that's promoting exports in Uruguay, and right now it's working to foster the exporting services, and software is included there, but yet we still have many challenges ahead. One of them is, even though we're becoming more well-known in the region, if you go to other continents, Uruguay is usually very unknown as a country. When you go to a country in Europe and you say, I'm from Uruguay, many of the times they know Uruguay because of soccer or beef, but they don't know the country very much. Another difficulty that companies have is a lack of specialized staff in terms of having salesmen that will fly abroad and try to sell their products. To find someone like that is as difficult as finding a technical expert. So we don't only have constraints in the technical area, but also in the sales area, where we need to have people who speak perfect English and who are willing to go abroad and be able to sell in the first world. And there are other things that we still need to improve in terms of exports. For example, indirect exports. Many times we see that there are business opportunities that may be larger than what one company in a sector can cover, and we end up combining the efforts of 2 or 3 companies for that client. And then we lose that approach when the other companies that are teamed up together have a local approach. So in those cases, this is not good for working with larger clients. And this is it. Do you have any questions? Anyone? Good afternoon. Rather than a question, it's a comment. I am developing a technology project right now, and on top of that, I am working with entrepreneurs through JCIC, which is an organization. I've been working a lot with entrepreneurs. Last year, I was on the other side of this, and I had to submit a business plan before different places, and the experience I had was not good. I agree with you that we're working a lot, that we have made a lot of progress in terms of what we used to be, but entrepreneurs are being constrained very fast. You have the idea, you have many ideas, sometimes you find experts that give you feedback on things that are incorrect. In terms of what I worked with, I had a very bad experience because I think that we need to work in order to be able to have more dialogue with entrepreneurs, in order to be able to know what they are needing. In the case of Kuti, maybe through Guzman, I don't remember his name very well, we received good feedback, and he gave us some contacts in order to support our entrepreneur. But in our case, very specifically, we had a good reply from Kuti, but I believe that there's a lot to be done on this entrepreneur area, because I don't know. Sometimes we're all experts and we all seem to be knowledgeable in a certain type of business, but sometimes we don't allow entrepreneurs to fly with their own ideas. So I believe that we should work more in that sense. Yes, that's true. There's more to be done. Let's keep on working. Sometimes the ecosystem is quite small. And if I'm on the Silicon Valley, for example, I will talk to an angel or with many people, and I will be able to talk to 20 people. But in this case, in Uruguay, you don't have 20 people to resort to. Of course, if you're trying to find capital, maybe you can go to ANI, but maybe some projects on ANI are not approved. And since you don't have many more alternatives for submitting this, it might be frustrating for entrepreneurs. But yes, I invite you to improve the whole system and the different initiatives that we have for supporting entrepreneurs. Any other questions? So, thank you very much.